Hi, everybody, and hello, Elizabeth.
Hi, how is
Thank you
everybody?
for thank you for having your mug ready. Today we have a very special guest, and Elizabeth Choate. Am I saying your last name correctly? I apologize.
Yes, yes, you're
Great,
perfect, perfect.
thank you. Elizabeth Choate is a therapist specializing in narcissism, narcissistic personality disorder, and I thought because so many people who I come in contact with are struggling with that these days, I thought who better to have on and ask the questions that we all have. So thank you for being here today, Elizabeth.
Thank you for having me. And I actually told my clients to come tune in because you're the wizard of words and you have those exact phrases. I said, he's a genius. You have to tune in.
Thank you. We're a good team.
Yes.
Elizabeth specializes in giving you the what did you said it perfectly before,
The
speaking of the
coping
words.
tools to
That's it.
manage. And then Dan gives you the perfect phrases.
See,
Yeah.
that's it. So here's what we're going to do today. I did not get a chance to go over this. Hello, Crystal.
Hi,
Um,
Crystal.
yes, yes. I'm trying to remember to shout out to the people who appear on the screen. And it appears as though you're already on that one, Elizabeth. So keep me on the ball there. And
Okay.
I had some questions that were sent to me in advance for you. So let me get right to those.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I thought that I did, but I missed them. So I'm going to start off with some of the questions that I was waiting to ask you. And if you have a question for Elizabeth, make sure to put it in the chat and I will get to them. Toot sweet. So one moment here. Can you tell me a little bit, Elizabeth? A lot of people are saying that they have a narcissist boss or that they have a narcissist, coworker, and I'd like you to take a moment, if you could, to kind of clarify what is really a true narcissist so that we're not mislabeling people and we can find the right strategies for them if they are not, in fact, a narcissist.
A true narcissist, according to the DSM-5, has a certain set of criteria. But what's interesting is if we look in the DSM-5 at a certain disorder, it's a lot different when you see it in person. And each personality, Dan has in his book all the different personalities that you'll deal with in the workplace or in life, right? Narcissists come in all different shapes and sizes and personalities. So the basics are they have zero empathy. They manipulate in order to gain power or money or to make themselves feel good because inside they loathe themselves, really. Um, those are the basics, though. They like to manipulate people, triangulate people. They'll pit you against somebody or pit somebody against you.
Is that what triangulating means?
Yes, it's like a triangle of three people. And they'll say, for example, they'll say, my ex cheated on me constantly and refused to cook me dinner. And then that causes the new source of supply, the new person to say, oh, I'll cook for you always, because they want to be better. They want to be, and I never cheat. I would never do that. So he's pumping you up to serve him and give him more supply, or her, whoever the narcissist is. But narcissism comes on a continuum, you guys. So you may be a full-blown narcissist or you may be somewhere else on the continuum. Now, if you're way over here, you're a doormat, you're an enabler, you're codependent, you don't stand up for yourself, you're timid. If you're somewhere in the middle, that's a healthy source of narcissism to have, because you actually can do that 3-second stare that Dan talks about. You have the confidence to say the power phrases and avoid the danger phrases, right? So you want to be somewhere in the middle. And we do go around calling too many people a narcissist. So it's better to say they're toxic. They're toxic. They're a taker. They're a bully. Call them what they really are in that moment. And Dan can give you the perfect phrases. And if you have questions for me on dealing with these people, throw them in the comments, and we're happy to attack that.
That I'm so glad that you mentioned that about how it's important to label them as who they are right now, so that you can deal with that. That's really important. I'm a big believer in that, because it's. Did you ever see that movie about the people who they lived in a bus and they were going around naming all of the plants around them? Do you know what I'm talking about? You know the one?
Yeah.
I thought that was so interesting how I did not see the entire movie, but the parts that I was watching, they were kind of empowered and more empowered the more that they learned the name of these things around them. And that's just kind of how it is. Once you learn what the real name is of things, you 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 assume more power, and whatever had power over you has less once you know its name.
Absolutely.
Rumpelstiltskin. Okay, so one moment, please. You said that you have a list of things to look out for, red flags, in a PDF form specifically for narcissists. Would you
Yes.
mind? Now, by the way, she's going to be sharing this list. Could you give me this specific title of it so that I don't call it something that it's not?
It's the 30 red flags of toxic people.
The 30 red flags of toxic people, and that is a PDF download.
It is, and I have that available at my website. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to put that in the chat right now. There you go. It is elizabethlmft.org. The link is in the chat as well, so you can go there and download it.
And if you find it under forms, just email me there. You can message me there, and I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
And
tell me what are some of the first red flags?
Some of the first red flags is when you're first dating this person or you're first around. This could be a coworker, a boss. I had a boss do this to me once, the love bombing thing. And it wasn't romantic in any way. It was more like, ooh, we're buddies. Like, I've known you my whole life because we're out here together right now. Give me the lowdown on everybody that works here. And I gave her the high points of everybody who worked there. I said, oh, yeah, that front staff, Daniela, she's amazing. She's worked so hard. She's only 19, and she has already risen to the rank of nighttime driver, and this guy does this, and he's really good at that. So that's what I focused on. And she was just studying me, And later she did turn on me. She devalued me later. So they start with—
Tell me about that.
Huh?
Tell me about that process.
The process of devaluing.
Yeah, like how because that's a pattern, right? You want to look for it.
It's a pattern. It's a pattern, and the pattern will continue throughout the relationship, causing you to be trauma bonded. So we'll back up to love bombing, right?
Okay.
Love bombing. They will find your deepest insecurities and compliment them. So if you feel your stomach is not flat enough, and you say, "Ooh, I'm insecure about my stomach," they'll touch your stomach and say, "You have the most beautiful stomach I've ever seen. What are you talking about?" If they have something, there's something about you that they might not find particularly attractive, crooked teeth. And they'll say, "You have beautiful teeth. I just love your teeth. I love your sense of humor. I love your free spiritedness. I love the way you just bust out singing for no reason." And then when they start to devalue you, you walk out and you're singing, you're happy. And then they say, "That's enough. It's getting old." Okay. And in that moment, you're sucker punched. You think, "Oh my gosh, the person who loves me more than anything, my soulmate over here, suddenly just through the heart, And then they tell you, "You look like you're about 3 months pregnant. Shouldn't you start jogging? Or do you really think you should be eating that?" And
so
you're mad.
They are able to identify what your insecurities are.
Yes.
They build you up and compliment you on those. And then they sucker punch you when you least expect it to make you insecure about it, so that you then come back and look for their approval.
Yes. So you come back and you're trying harder so that they will approve of you again, so that you can get back to that space where they were love bombing you because it felt so good, That's one thing to look for. And the love bombing is over the top. They will go on your social media. They'll put a fire on every photo. They'll ask you to say you're in a relationship immediately with them. They'll go to all your contacts and contact them and tell them they are so proud to be with you and it's so nice to meet you. And then later, when they devalue you, they'll go to those same people and they'll say, "I'm worried about her. She's mental. I'm so scared." And the thing is, they're gaslighting you and they're making you act. You react. If they say you're getting fat, you should start jogging, and you say, "Hey, that really hurt me that you said that," they'll say, "What are you talking about? I never said that. I would never say something like that. Are you okay? You should get a CAT scan." Like, what's wrong with you? And then they'll go tell your friend, she's paranoid. She thinks I'm saying things I'm not. And then your friends will say, he loves you so much and he's so great. I mean, he just took you to Cancun. You know, you need to calm down. And so everybody makes you think you're crazy. And we call that their flying monkeys. They basically hire your friends and everybody as their flying monkeys, right? And then they get everybody on their side and they present this beautiful, wonderful person. But then when it's just you and that person behind closed doors, it's not so pretty. And they do that because it makes them feel more powerful. It makes them look good in their crazy brain. But they have zero empathy. They can't put themselves in your shoes. And taking somebody down makes them feel strong.
Wow.
And please don't think they choose you because you're stupid and meek. They don't like stupid, meek people. That's why the gray rock method works so well, right?
You have so many good names for these methods.
Absolutely. Like if you're walking along and you see a shiny, beautiful rock like that, this is a cubic zirconia, but it's shiny and sparkly and pretty, right? And then you see a little gray rock next to it. Which one are you picking up? You're not going to pick up the gray rock. You're going to say, ooh, pretty. So they want somebody with a big heart who does not throw people away. They want somebody who's beautiful and smart, talented, has money. They want somebody who will make them look good.
And so what is gray rocking?
Gray rocking is when you do what Rudolph did with his nose. You snuff out your light in front of that person so that they walk on by. So when they love bomb you or they attempt to, oh, your eyes are so beautiful. I've never seen eyes that color. Are you sure you're not wearing contacts? You are just so beautiful. And you just kind of look at them and say, they're hazel blue eyes. I don't see what the big deal is.
So you tone down your level of engagement and enthusiasm. And
yeah.
Perfect. And they under normal circumstances, they will tire of trying to win your affections and they will move along. Is that the goal?
You're not feeding their supply. So they want somebody who's going to say, oh my God, thank you. You are so sweet. And get all 16-year-old butterfly in the stomach goo over them, like fawning over their little compliments. And, you know, we do enjoy compliments, of course, but you want to be careful. They'll overdo it with the compliments. They'll overdo it with gift giving and being overly helpful in the beginning. And you'll feel like something's off, but you won't be able to pinpoint it. And that's your intuition. That's your spirit telling you, run, baby, run.
I'm glad that you said that because one of our first questions now, going back to that is, how do you spot it? I apologize. How do you spot it? Who asked me that? I'm going to find you, but I was just asked, tell me some of the things that you can look for to say, okay, that's not just a little eccentric. That's a sign of a narcissist that I should watch out for.
The main key, if you've ever been in a relationship like that, you went through that trauma and you've broken free from it.
Mm-hmm.
You have now developed a superpower. So now when you're around somebody like that, you'll feel it. You'll feel it in your heart and in your gut. You'll feel it. And you will not feel good around them. Even though they're showering you with compliments, you'll just feel like detached. You know, you won't be able to connect. That's number one. Number two is if you're not feeling that or if you're not noticing yourself feeling that, then what you want to do is pay attention to how many compliments, how many in a row, and then how often does this person redirect the conversation back to themselves?
Okay. And how many compliments? Like generally, I was just doing a lesson on the 80-20 rule that at work, you don't want to give more than 8 positive pieces of feedback before you give a couple of, constructive negative ones. But how do you know that's too much?
Generally, a healthy person will say something to you like, I really admire your creativity. You have a very creative mind. You seem to be very outgoing. I really admire that about you. And you seem to really value integrity. That's amazing. I love that. A narcissist will be like, you have the hottest ass. You have the most beautiful lips. You're prettier than Angelina Jolie. Do you know that? That guy doesn't deserve you. You should be with somebody better. You could have anyone you want. Look how hot you are. It's all about your appearance.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there's not, because that's what they're into. It's not a lot about what's in your head because they don't really care about that. They'll pretend to when you share it at first, but they don't really care.
Oh, okay. And what are some more things that you can do to spot that this is an unhealthy person that maybe I should question? You know, what are some more signs that I'm with a dangerous person?
Every one of their exes were crazy and screwed them over. Every
Oh,
one of them.
that's
There's
a
no
good one.
there's no, hey, we ended it because we outgrew each other. There's none of that. It's dramatic. It's sometimes the legal system's involved. There's just all this craziness, and he'll tell you how crazy she was and the one before her. And I've just had really bad luck with women, and you just seem so different. He's starting to triangulate you with his exes right there.
Oh, now I'm glad that you keep bringing up triangulate because I want to get used to what that is. And
Yeah.
I have heard, maybe I'm incorrect. Is it a sign of a narcissist that they actually try to sometimes bring their exes back into the relationship for some sick reason? And
Oh yeah.
what do they do with that? How do they do that?
Because it gives them a front and center. Like if you're going to a boxing match, they get to see how uncomfortable you are, and that makes them feel powerful and happy. And they also get to show off their new supply to their ex who abandoned them.
Oh, okay.
And then they also get to flirt with their ex behind your back so that she's on the back burner in case things don't work out. They have someone to bring back in. So it's like they're trying to make you both jealous. They're trying,
And they're getting all sorts of benefits from doing that. I see.
Yes.
Okay. Gwen. Hi, Gwen. Gwen is saying that she's seen a narcissist destroy a whole company. Thank you. Oh, it's Adele that struggled to spot them effectively. So can you tell me another way to spot them for Adele?
Another way to spot them effectively is how they treat other people.
Please elaborate on that. That's smart.
If, like, let's say you go out to dinner and they're very rude to your server, and then they look at you and say, yeah, these people that work here are idiots. Later, they will be the same way towards you.
Oh, that's so important to recognize.
Mm-hmm.
So watch how they treat the servers. Watch how they treat the people that don't matter to them,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Watch how they treat animals as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What do they do to animals?
Well, there was a narcissist I dated one time, and there were these two Siamese cats, right? Yeah. They came into my apartment and they looked like Egyptian cats. They were phenomenal looking cats. I said, oh my goodness, come in. And they both walked in together in unison, right? They walked in, they explored the apartment, and then he came home from work and he walked in, and I was petting the cats, and I was like, I think I have tuna around here. Let me feed you. You're so pretty. Right. And then when he walked in, he reached down to pet the cats, and they were like, they hissed at him and they bolted out the door. He was a full-blown top of the spectrum, overt, grandiose narcissist. So the animals can tell.
So watch not just how they treat animals, but how animals treat them.
Yes, and they're the type of person who will kick your dog when you're not looking. When you're there, they'll be like, "Oh, what a good dog," and then when you leave the room, they'll shove them away or they'll kick them and say, "Get out of here, you gross animal." So, just like the guy on Something About Mary. Remember that movie? And she said her dog knows if somebody's bad, and he drugged the dog. And then,
that's right.
Remember?
Yeah.
They'll do things like that.
Okay. That's a good tip with the animals. I never thought about using an animal as a would that be a sign, a signal? Okay. This is a question from Brianna. Hi, Brianna. Let me see if I can put it up there.
Brianna.
Hey, Brianna, are narcissists born with this, or that's a great question. What causes people to become narcissists?
People become narcissists for two different reasons.
Okay.
Nobody's born that way. People are born a clean slate, innocent, unless they're, circumstances like autism and things like that. But nobody's like born a narcissist. This happens because either, what was his name in Rome? That nasty,
Caesar?
nasty imp. Not Caesar, the
That's the only
nastier.
name I know.
His nickname meant little boots. If anybody can think of who I'm talking about, I just turned 50. I'm
Augustus?
so sorry. I just lost his name.
Me too. Was it Augustus?
No,
That was a Caesar. See, I'm pulling out those are the two names I know.
not Augustus or Caesar. It'll come to me in a moment.
Okay.
But when he was a child, he had a sick family. He had a really sick family. And they trained him to become the next emperor. They overindulged him. They spoiled him. He could do anything he wanted, and there were no consequences. So he became like, everything revolves around me. I'm everything. But deep down, his psyche knew he didn't deserve it, that he wasn't worthy of it. So there's that self-loathing anyway. But he grew up to be an absolute monster, a grandiose, overt narcissist who would throw dinner parties and come out and grab a man's wife and say, I'm going to sleep with you. And if the man objected, his guards would get on the man with a knife and say, don't move. So he raped his sister. I mean, just all kinds of stuff. Sick man. So there's that kind of narcissist, right?
Okay.
And then there's the other kind of narcissist who was completely neglected. And maybe the parents were depressed or on drugs or alcoholics. It could be that level where the child did not get the nurturing and love they needed to progress through the proper developmental milestones, right?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't get that fostering of growth. Or it could be that they were abused. They were abused again and again and again by horrible parents who should have never been parents, who were probably narcissists themselves. So the kid learned that. And then there's a third option that studies show when, like, say a little boy is raised to be told all the time, we don't talk about feelings. Are you crying? Stop it. Be a man. Man up, you little shit. Telling.
Yeah, Mom, are you listening, Mom?
Yes. Are you listening, Mom? And then when he grows up, he cannot express his emotions. He shuts down for communication. He has this perfectionism about him that he has to be perfect or he won't receive love. And then he becomes a narcissist. Everything has to be perfect. I control you. I control everything. I'm a man. I won't talk
like a serial killer narcissist.
That's the psychopath.
Yeah.
The psychopath is even worse. The narcissist doesn't want to go to prison or get caught or be unmasked.
Can you tell me the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath?
The sociopath and the psychopath, to me, it's kind of the same thing. The narcissist, the sociopath is more a social psycho, kind of like a narcissist, And then the other is more, they want to murder people. They want to watch the life leave your eyes. And grandiose narcissists would love it if they could push you to suicide. They would.
That totally creeped me out the way you said that.
They
like to watch the life leave your eyes.
It's very creepy. It's very creepy. If they could push you to it, they would feel so powerful.
Oh, because they're making that. They have the grand power at that time.
They made you take your own life, and then they get all the sympathy from everybody, and they talk about how much they loved you, and it was so sad for them. And then in 2 days, they have a new lady.
Jeez.
So that's kind of how they work.
You had mentioned at the beginning borderline, and I'd like to get some good solid not definitions, but explanations as to what these things are, so that we can get clarity. So, what is a borderline?
So a borderline is just like a narcissist, except the borderline manipulates for love, and they're terrified of being abandoned.
Oh.
The one thing they want most in this whole world, that love, that stability, scares them to death. Because if they get it, it could be taken away.
That sounds like everybody, isn't it? Are we all a little borderline?
Yes, but not to the point of being toxic. The borderline, they'll tell you, you know what? You never bring me flowers, and you're not romantic, and
Mom,
you never take me anywhere. And I just feel like you don't even love me. And then the next day you might walk in with a dozen white roses and say, my love is so pure. And
Oh,
there's a fake one in the bouquet, and you say, I'll love you till the last one dies. And then you take them out to dinner, and then you come home and you say, I'm going to give you a massage. And then they look at you and they're like, at first they're melting into it, but then they flip a switch and they say, you're only doing this because I told you to. You're not doing it because you wanted to. This is fake. I hate you. And you end up feeling this push pull to the point where you're like, you're
it's the
just,
push pull. Do you think that's the
yeah,
biggest sign?
that's the biggest sign with a borderline. And most borderlines are women. There are male borderlines as well.
Can you tell me about that? What about narcissists? Are most narcissists men?
Most narcissists are men, but there are narcissistic women too.
Oh, and most borderlines are women. Interesting. And
Yeah.
by the way, 22405, hello, hello. Are narcissists, oh, excuse me. You just answered that one. The way people, I'm gonna read something from Evelyn
Okay.
in color.
Hi,
The
Evan.
way, hey Evelyn, the way people treat customer service of any kind, especially food service workers, says so much about them. We were just talking about food service workers.
Yeah.
And Jennifer Fisher says, what do you do when you have a coworker that's a narcissist, but everybody caters to them? Meanwhile, they are literally out to get you fired for no reason. Jennifer, fantastic question.
I went through that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yes, the narcissist boss. She give me the lowdown on everybody, and I spoke positives only. My supervisor at the time, my direct supervisor, she said he had short man syndrome, and she was going to teach him a lesson. So he was in the saddle for that week, right? And then she said, you're going to get more independence around here, and he's going to back off because he's a little Napoleon man and all these things. And I just stood there looking at her like, oh, okay, you know. And within 2 weeks, there was another person in the saddle, the lead coworker in the front. She went gunning for her. She took her in her office and chewed her out to the point where the woman cried. And she spun in her chair and hit her face in shame and cried. And this woman was making fun of her. She left and went home. She had a panic attack. They almost called an ambulance, and then she went home. So this woman's laughing and saying, boo hoo hoo, I can't handle being talked to by my boss. And then the next week, I was in the hot seat. So I was doing therapy groups, and she kept having the nurses interrupt my groups. And the rule was walk around, don't interrupt. It's only an hour.
Uh-huh. Oh, so you work with nurses.
Yeah, the nurses gave the meds, and I did the groups and
Okay.
individual therapy. So the nurses came in and ding, 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 let's go. We got to do med pass. And I'm sitting there like, what's happening?
So,
Okay.
and that's a good angle that Jennifer was talking about, because I think a lot of people struggle with that. What do
Yeah.
you do when you're with like, let's say that when your coworker has snowed everybody and they're all kissing up to them and they're trying to sabotage you? Like, do you have a strategy that somebody maybe could use to help get clarity and not get sucked into that type of situation and let it ruin their job?
Yes. In my situation, she did turn everybody against me, and we were all friends for over a year. So
until they turned against you.
She showed up, yeah, and she turned them all against me by giving them bonuses and raises and asking them to fill out a form. So she came to me with a write-up.
That's an effective way.
She came to me with a write-up that was about 10 pages long, and she handed me the pen. Here, sign this, Liz. And I slowly pushed it over, and I stared at her, and I said, I'm not signing that.
That's a good tip, by the way. Never sign anything if you're brought into HR, right?
Do not sign anything.
Don't sign anything. In fact, avoid the meeting if you can.
Yes.
So
And
did you ever find resolution in that situation?
the resolution for me was to speak with the board members. So I did go through the ranks. I talked to my immediate supervisor. He was a coward. He couldn't do confrontation. And he was a therapist. So then I talked to the general manager. He was very receptive to hear me out. And I said, I'm not looking to cause trouble for anybody. I would just like resolution. So, is there a way the nurses and I could collaborate on med pass versus group and make everybody happy? And in the middle of that boss came in and the door flew open and she said, "You," and started screaming at me in front of the general manager.
How long was it before you left that job? Was it shortly thereafter? Like, did you leave?
It was within 2 weeks. So I went through all of the proper channels first. I wrote a formal letter to the board with documentation, document everything, document it or it didn't happen. That's what I've been trained, and that's true in many companies. So document everything, go through the proper channels and update that resume and keep it active, because sometimes she will not be defeated until long after you're gone, which is what happened in my company. After I left, she was fired shortly after for targeting somebody else.
I think of, I'm not an expert, of course, in the therapy field, but what you mentioned about having an active resume, I think that is so empowering for people if they haven't yet experienced that. Remember, when you have a job, don't just think, oh, great, I'm set now. You should always be actively looking, because you should have a pool of people who are trying to recruit you. Because instead of having to, as the average person does, walk into interviews and be like, please, please pick me, and compete, you should have people who are competing for you. And when you need to, then you get to select them. And it's the total reverse mindset. So I think that's a fantastic point. People, I'm sure maybe you can speak to this. When you feel as though you are trapped in a situation, you're going to behave totally differently from how you would if you felt as though you were free. Even if the situation's even if all other factors are the same, you will behave very differently if you think that you can go someplace else, right? And you all of a sudden resolve all of these situations that you thought were unresolvable before.
Yeah, knowing that you don't have to settle for the abuse is very empowering.
Okay, animals know, by the way, Susie Homemaker or Susie Home Care says. I apologize. I know that we're at our time.
It's okay.
Caligula. Everybody's saying Caligula.
Yeah.
Is that the one?
Thank you, Caligula. That's who I was thinking of. Thank you.
I just remember that from the Showtime when you said that you just turned 50?
Uh-huh.
Remember when we were like 10? Showtime used to always run the Caligula movies back then. If my coworker treats me differently when the owners are around, and it's hard to tell them, they also said Caligula is his name. What do you recommend, or how might you handle it when people is this common that a narcissist, I think you said it is totally different towards you when people are around and when they're not? How do you handle that if they're giving you the hello my baby, hello my honey when other people are around?
Boy, that is a fantastic question. They do that. They do have a different mask for different audiences and different personas for different audiences. It can be creepy when you really see all of them, and then you see them at home. It's like, whoa. But when they do that, for example, I knew one who told me one day, I said, why is your brother walking 5 feet ahead of me instead of like holding my hand and walk? I don't get it. And then you guys show up and he's holding my hand. She leans over and she goes, because you're getting a little voluptuous. And I stared at her for a minute and I said, there's no M in the word voluptuous. And then later, she had a group of her friends around, right? And she asked each of them individually, made me stand there. Well, she didn't make me, but I'm standing there. And she goes, what does voluptuous mean? And I'm like, there's no M in voluptuous. And then I was a spelling bee winner as a kid. I hate it when people misspell like that or mispronounce. And her friend says, it means hot, it's sexy and curvy. And then the next one, oh yeah. And then she turns to me after they all say that. And she goes, you're so funny. I love you so much. You don't even know what that word means. And I just kind of smiled and I said, I'm very aware of what voluptuous means. There's no M in that word for starters. I can spell it for you. It's VOLUM. I started to spell it. And then I said, and if you look at the context of the conversation, you certainly did mean it as an insult. And that wasn't very nice, was it? And her friends were like,
Gosh, it sounds like you went to that Mean Girls high school.
yeah.
So I like the way, by the way, what you just did was calmly and coolly state the behavior of the person without, when people do that, you don't have to think of clever things to say. All you have to do is state what's going on, and there's very little defense to that,
Yes.
right?
State the facts non-judgmentally. So it's a matter of putting your ego aside, because we all run on ego if we don't put that in control, right? If we don't control. So you have to put your ego aside and then state only the facts in front of you. And I train people to do this through DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy.
Thank you. Please explain that a little bit, because that's a hot topic.
Dialectical means two things are true at the same time. So I could say, I have a pile of laundry I need to do, and I'm tired and I don't feel like doing it right now. Two things are true at the same time. It needs to get done. I don't feel like it. I'm not saying I'm a loser or I'm stupid because I haven't done it. I'm not saying I'm a bad housekeeper. I'm not judging. I'm just saying it is what it is. You know?
What does the B and the T stand for?
Dialectical behavioral therapy.
Dialectical behavioral. How does that help us saying, can you repeat that again? Like that is what you just said. The laundry needs to be done and I'm busy, so I'm not going to do it. But did I get that almost? Like, how would that help me?
You're accepting the facts of the situation. And especially with a narcissist, this is helpful because dialectical, two things are true at the same time. And that directs our behavior because we're in wise mind. We're not letting emotion and ego run things. And we're not being so logical that we become an enabler. You know, we're in the middle. So we use radical or everyday acceptance. You are who you are, and you're showing me that. I am who I am. And you will not force me to escalate into a cuckoo bird and go nuts on you.
So give me another example of how I might use DBT in a situation where I think I'm being gaslighted by a narcissist, maybe.
You could say, I know what I saw or I know what I heard, and this is not productive. I'm disengaging. Bye.
Okay, so you're stating. Tell me how to get those two things. What two things am I looking for the D?
Dialectical thinking. So there's emotional mind, logical mind, like Spock from Star Trek.
Yep.
No emotion. And then there's all emotion, and you want to merge those together in a Zen fashion, non-judgmentally.
Okay.
Put your ego aside, and you okay. Here's a great example of DBT thinking. Okay. So I invite you to meet me for coffee at Starbucks, Dan. And I tell you, meet me there at 2:00 on Friday. And you say, yay, I'm so excited, right? So I get to Starbucks at 2:00, right on the dot. And
of course, I'm there waiting for you in advance.
No, you're not there, though. You haven't shown up yet. So I take my Vampire Slayer cup in, and I say, hey, fill this up. Because there is no neutrality in the universe.
No neutrality in the universe.
So they fill it up for me. This is in his merchandise. You guys got to get one. It's too cool.
You are so good.
I love it. So I go in and I have my coffee cup filled up, right? And I go sit and wait for you. And 20 minutes pass and I have not heard from you. I'm looking around. I'm starting to get a little pissed, right? So I look at my phone. I text you and I say, hey, Dan, what's up? I'm waiting for you. I hope everything's okay. And then I don't hear from you. So if I'm in full emotional mind and I'm not in wise mind, I'm all emotion, I'm going to catastrophize. I'm going to call you and I'm going to start screaming and crying and say, I thought you liked me, Dad. I'm going to act like a borderline. I thought you liked me, Dad. You're so mean. You're so rude. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I'll never meet you for coffee again. Now, if I go straight to logical mind, I would probably think, something must have come up for him. Oh, well, I'll try a different day. I wouldn't even contact you. I would just leave. But if I'm in wise mind, I'm going to express how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
So I would leave you a voicemail and say, "Hey Dan, it's Liz. It's almost 3 o'clock. I thought we were meeting at 2. I'm super bummed out that we didn't get to meet. I'm so disappointed. But maybe something came up for you. I understand life happens. So contact me later, and maybe we can set this up another time." Now, if you do that to me 2 times in a row, then you're out. I'll say, "Yeah, I don't want to plan coffee with you anymore because you don't show up," and that
Who
hurts.
everybody says I do that all the time.
So that's an example of wise mind, is you're putting your emotions out there, but you're not, like you say, don't react, respond. You're responding, and
And
you're
so
letting.
wise mind is like DBT. Are they
Yes.
similar?
Wise mind is part of DBT.
Gotcha.
DBT is a giant workbook, and I teach all the tools.
Gotcha.
There's
It's
so many
not
tools.
simplified down to this one thing.
Oh God, no! But
Thank
that's
you.
that's the basis. That's the golden key to make all the other tools work for you.
Thank you. I was confused then. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay. Well, I know we only have a few more minutes. May I ask to convey the emphasis that narcissism is within all of us, as it's
Yes.
on a continuum.
Yes.
That's exactly what you were saying. Okay, Joseph Lopez, thank you for that insight.
Thank you,
It's on a
Joseph.
continuum and part of the human condition. This is very
Mhm.
important to hear. Thank you, Joseph. And Grace says, I'm going to try to get you guys on show. Grace says, I'm rarely able to stand up for myself. I just let people walk all over me. And when they insult me, I literally have nothing to say. It's so hard to stand up for myself. And can I have some comebacks? Please help.
Oh, hugs, Grace. What I'm hearing when I hear Dan read that, what I'm hearing is a core belief that says, I'm not worthy of respect. Like, I feel like somewhere down the line in your past, all the way up till now, that's been pounded into you by the way people have treated you. And you need self-esteem, self-worth work. And Dan's power phrases, you can just use those. And we don't have to be witty in the moment, like we were saying. Just state the facts. State the facts of the situation. This is my favorite thing to do is, ouch, why would you say that to me? Or ouch.
That's a great thing for when you're heckled or when, yes,
Yeah.
ouch.
And you're sheltering your heart from absorbing that energy. Ouch, why would you say that to me? Explain that. Or, ooh, that's interesting. Or that's your opinion.
I'll use that a lot if I'm if I'm in a situation where there's a heckler or a bully, and maybe I'm giving a presentation, because that component of it where you are saying ouch kind of lets them feel like, I did it, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're more likely to just shut up, right? Which is the goal so often. And I like that you cover the heart and then you ask a question. That's a good 3-step process. I'm going to write that one
Thank
down.
you.
Why did you say that you felt as though she maybe has that? I don't know how you put it, and I don't want to phrase it the wrong way. Why did you pick up on that?
That core belief, because
there you go.
I rarely am able to stand up for myself. That means you don't feel like you deserve respect. You're not worthy of having a voice. You weren't allowed to have a voice. And then I just let people walk all over me. And when they insult me, I literally have nothing to say.
As opposed to maybe saying, sometimes, or I struggle with getting people to respect me, or so it's the way that she phrased that kind of was a signal to you that this is more than just an incident.
That gives me the feeling in my soul that she's really been beaten down in life. There's probably a history of some major traumas going on there too.
And how do people contact you? I apologize, I didn't mean to interrupt. It's the delay.
It's okay.
Continue. What were you saying?
Traumas, and then we seek out, we subconsciously will seek out our traumatic experience again and again. Like being drawn to, like in my history in my 20s, I was drawn to those narcissistic jerks, those emotionally unavailable people, because that was what felt comfortable to my soul. It felt familiar. I knew what I was working with. I knew
what it is.
Yeah. But there's that subconscious piece of it too. You're trying to create a different ending with this time around, because if you do, it heals all that. But it doesn't work. It never works. You cannot love somebody better to make them better. they have to love you enough to want to be better, and just accept people for who they are and don't look. But anyway, Grace, I feel like you've been through a lot and you could use some major empowerment.
Tell
And
me, by the way, how would people get in touch with you, and what type of counseling or services do you offer, or therapy, excuse me, do you offer online, in person? Or tell me about what you can offer, or tell me about that.
okay. In the state of California, I do work with almost any insurance except TRICARE. No thanks. But I can work with any insurance. Any resident of California in the state of California can contact me at my website, elizabethlmft.org.
Which is also in the comments, elizabethlmft.org.
Okay, thank you. And then also for my life coaching credentials, I can work with anybody anywhere. And I really want to empower people to heal from narcissistic abuse and bring awareness to that. And I want to see you guys rise from the phoenix, like, the flames, the phoenix flies out, the ashes, all the garbage, all those terrible core beliefs behind you. I want to see you fly beautiful and stronger with your new superpowers.
Oh, because that is your specialty. That's what you do.
That's my life. That is my life.
It's not a part of your practice. It is your practice.
It is my practice. Yeah.
And can people when you were saying that you can take TRICARE, or excuse me, not TRICARE, but you can take other insurances. Are you a practitioner as well, a nurse practitioner? Like I'm not used to that. Tell me how people would.
Oh no, a licensed marriage and family therapist is considered part of the medical community. We do collaborate with your primary physician, your psychiatrist. So we're a whole medical team, but I don't give you drugs. I give you tools, because what if we have an apocalypse and there's no more drugs? You got to have some tools. Judith is asking about the mug. I want to give her a close up.
Thank you.
Fuel. And then there's web address. It's danoconnortraining.com. Release your inner slayer. And then on the back,
it has the principle. Yeah, it's from the 9 Principles collection, where you can, when you're here's how I envision those. When you are at work and somebody's really stressing you out, the 9 Principles are different ways. Excuse me, they are. It's kind of it's a pathway to healing a relationship. Yeah, and so you can take a sip of coffee and remember what your principle is for the day. Like, okay, there's no separation in the universe, and they don't have any idea what's going on because that's a private thing that you're doing for you. Yeah. So there's 9 in total, and yours was that principle number 2 or 1?
This is number 1.
Number 1. There's no neutrality in the universe.
Number 1.
And you're such a good promoter.
You guys got to check. I've been promoting your book like crazy because it is brilliant, you guys.
Thank you.
This is brilliant. He breaks down these. They're all cluster B, narcissistic or borderline personalities in here.
I'm so glad you told. I didn't know that. Thank you.
Are. Every one of them. And some of them are the covert, like, oh, please feel sorry for me. That's a covert narcissist trying to get supply that way. Then you have the overt. That's the sniper.
The snipers, yep. And then there's the victims, and the
borderline is the victim. Oh, poor me. But there's tools in here. There's phrases. There's mindsets, body language. This is so good. And
thank you.
Flashcards in the back.
So I'm all about the flashcards. You have to have constant reminders, right?
Yes.
To change a habit is not, to change a mindset is not easy. And you have to, you need all the tools that you can get. And I think you would agree, mindset is really, as it is almost in every situation, it's everything. I mean, you have to change the way you think before before the things around you are going to change at all. And I think all of us kind of need a miracle these days more than ever. And we can all get them if we just change the way, we're seeing things around us, I think. I know that we have gone. I'm so grateful to you, Liz, that you gave us all this extra time. I'd love to have you back as pronto. So maybe, maybe next week we could do the same thing at the same time, same place. If it works for you,
I'd love to
work it out. Okay. Yeah. And remember that if you want to get in touch with Liz, that it is here. I keep saying that because I'm the type who's not writing things down. But can you say your website one more time?
ElizabethLMFT.org.
Thank you. ElizabethLMFT.org.
We need to share the link for the mugs.
Thank you very much. You are. We need to work together, and you need to remind me how to promote.
I'm
I will
reading
share the link. Thank you. I will put the link here, by the way, and we'll talk soon, pronto, so that we can talk about when the next time. Thank you, everybody. I apologize for not getting to your questions, but you know what, Liz, if you wanted to work with me maybe tomorrow about answering some of their questions, there's a new way to answer them on YouTube where you
Okay.
you can put a little video right in there. And
Okay.
maybe you could do that, and or we could do one together, and then you can stick it in the as a response. So that'd be
Yeah.
fun to try out. Because I
Love.
apologized, I didn't get to everybody's questions because time. So
Yeah,
let's do
I'm
that.
sorry, you guys too. And tomorrow I'm available at 1:00, after 1:00.
Okay. And if you could, that's right. You told me you had an appointment. If you could, if you wanted to go through the comments of this video and answer anybody and leave your contact information or whatever you wanted to do, please feel free to do that. And you were a great blessing to me and to everybody who was here today. Thank you very much, Liz.
Well, thank you. So are you. You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. We will talk soon. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Remember, if you're not a member, that's different from being a subscriber. So make sure to go to the member section and you can get priority questions answered. We're going to do those first. So thank you again, Liz. I really appreciate it. And say hi to your daughter. Tell her to keep learning her lessons.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.